Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Currently listening to is called Catnip, and it is the title song from the upcoming EP from Vanimal Kingdom. You can stream their debut self-titled album wherever you get your music, and be sure to check out the band on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. More information on those social media links later in the podcast.
Listen, I know you think that I don't care about anything but the prize. Just giving, can I change your mind? 'Cause I know that this feeling will subside.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to this week's Retrospective Wednesday edition of the Mountaineer Podcast, where I bring back interviews that I wasn't initially able to air when I conducted them. I'm sorry that this podcast episode is very, very late. I honestly thought I was going to be able to get it done much sooner than now, but unforeseen circumstances came up. What were these unforeseen circumstances, you may ask? Well, they happened to be the Lake Shore Fire, which started at approximately 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time on July 31st, 2024, near Gross Reservoir, which happens to be, as my mom would say it, 4 miles as the crow flies from my house. To make it very, very clear, my family and I are in no immediate danger. We are still in our house. We have not been told to evacuate, and as far as I am aware, the fire is being monitored very closely, so it is unlikely that it will make its way toward our house. However, we spent a few hours focusing on the fire to make sure nothing happened and it didn't start coming towards our house. Yes, I will admit my work ethic still contributed to this podcast being slightly later than I expected. I tend to finish things somewhat last minute, and that includes these recent podcast episodes, where I tend to finish everything, including recording, on the day. However, this was a circumstance I genuinely did not see coming. Barbara Hart, in fact, was the person who let me know that the fire was happening. So I want to thank Barbara for letting me know so that I could let my family know so that we could keep an eye out on the fire and make sure that everything would be okay for us. I wanted to take this time to reiterate to everybody who's listening that Boulder County has enacted Stage 1 fire restrictions as of July 1st, 2024, due to lack of moisture and forecasts for hot temperatures. So there are fire restrictions in various areas of Boulder County, and there are things that you just should not do when it comes to starting fires, including building, maintaining, attending, or using an open fire, campfire, or stove fire on public lands, fireworks sales, use, and possession, including permissible fireworks, shooting or discharge of firearms for recreational purposes on public lands, except for hunting with a valid and current hunting license on public lands, and many other regulations that it would take me, honestly, too long to read for this podcast. So just go to bouldercounty.gov and find the press release for yourself. I wanted to reiterate the fact that all of these restrictions were in place because, frankly, it felt irresponsible for me not to, especially in a peak-to-peak news podcast. And there have already been 4 fires in the last 3 days across the Front Range area. First, there was the Stone Canyon fire just outside Lyons. Then there was the Alexander Mountain fire west of Loveland. Then there was the Quarry fire in Jefferson County. And now there's the Lake Shore fire at Gross Reservoir. And honestly, it terrifies me a bit. As mentioned in a press conference earlier today by Boulder County on the City of Boulder YouTube channel, which you can still watch on that YouTube channel, this was a human-caused fire. It was not an intentional arson fire, but it was human-caused. And things like this are bound to happen in conditions like this if people are not careful. So I wanted to warn everyone about all of the restrictions that were in place so that they can keep an eye out for themselves and for others in Boulder County. I apologize that I ended up starting this podcast on such a dark note, but honestly, I just want everybody to stay safe out there, and I want everybody to be aware that right now we are in a particularly dangerous time when it comes to fires. So enough of the dark stuff from me. Before we transition into the interviews, though, I just wanted to make a quick correction. On Monday's podcast, I said that the Backdoor Theater had a matinee this weekend. They do not. This weekend's movie is only on Friday, August 2nd at 7 p.m. and Saturday, August 3rd at 7 p.m. There is no 1 p.m. matinee on Saturday, August 3rd. If you want to know what this weekend's movie is, be sure to check out Monday's episode of the podcast. All right, you've heard me talk long enough. Let's get into the interviews this week. Our first guest, do you mind introducing yourself real quick?
Yeah, my name is Powell with Vanimal Kingdom. I play bass and sing in the group.
And when I initially interviewed you to promote you in 2023, you had a show coming up at Howling Wind, didn't you?
Yes, that is correct. It is February 4th. Yep, we're pretty excited for it. We're doing a unplugged set that night, so I will actually be playing upright bass. It'll have like a acoustic guitar and kind of a broken down type percussion set up instead of drum set. So it'll be something a little different for us, which is exciting.
So who else is in the band with you?
So we have Aaron on drums, Saar on guitar, and Casey on saxophone, Gauer on trombone, and then myself on bass. And at this point, I think everybody has done at least a little bit of background or harmony singing. But yeah, lucky to be able to play with a lot of musicians that can do that. So that's a lot of fun.
I wanted to just quickly shout out the names of the members that Van mentioned. Of course, Powell already gave his full name, but then there's Aaron Sandry, Saar Schnitman, Jon Gauer Jr., and Casey Wilkes. So how did the band start in the first place?
Yeah, so it kind of started as almost like a writing project when I was going to college at the University of Arkansas. And I did gig in Arkansas as Vanimal Kingdom some and had some pretty regular members, but I kind of tended to just hire people for gigs. And I kind of have more of a set group now, which is really nice because you can spend more time working on new material together and just growing a larger base of music.
So how did all of the band members come together? How did you recruit the band members for Vanimal Kingdom?
I've had a lot of help with that from our drummer, actually, Aaron. I've known him for about 10 years because I did live out in Colorado a short period of time before I went back to Arkansas to go to school. So I've known Aaron for a long time, and we found a lot of members just online in different online groups and stuff, which he has been a big help for because he's just good at looking out for stuff like that. But yeah, we just kind of all came together. This exact lineup has been playing together maybe 6 months, but we've been gigging out in the Front Range area for about a year and a half now.
Are there any particular influences that have stuck out to you or the other band members along the way?
Yeah, I mean, our influences are honestly all over the place. We have some really jazzy folks and some rockers and some, I don't know, it's kind of all over the place, but everybody is also pretty diverse. So yeah, it's a bit of a cluster. We got our guitar player is really into Rage Against the Machine and some prog rock type stuff, and Gauer is really into a lot of jazz stuff. He has his own octet that I actually play in, the Jon Gauer Octet, like a jazz fusion octet that's a lot of fun. So our influences are kind of all over the place, but definitely a lot of fun to play with as a group. It's kind of like a prog funk thing with horns, so it's been a lot of fun to play with them.
Is there anything that you particularly enjoy about being able to perform live?
I think just the fact that I'm able to create something that other people are willing to get on board with is really special to be just in the first place. And I've managed to befriend a really talented little group here, and it's just an honor that they even want to play any of the music that I write. So that's always really fun to me. And just if anybody is able to connect to the things that I make, that's awesome.
And is there anything that you hope audience members will be able to take away from your shows when they come and see you?
Yeah, I feel like we're a very multi-genre band, so I feel like a lot of people tend to get stuck in certain genres and only listen to certain styles of music, and I've definitely talked to people after shows of ours that just said that they didn't necessarily listen to some of the styles that we played, but that they just really enjoyed the whole show just because we were diverse and something different than they expected, I guess. So I guess just opening people up to different styles and seeing that there's not putting as many limitations on music in general.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we move on to our next guest?
Just in general, we are doing a winter tour from the 27th of January through the 18th of February, where we're playing 7 dates across Colorado. So even if you are not available for the Howlin' Wind, we would love to see anyone out at any of those dates. Yeah, we were definitely really excited in general about the upcoming dates. We've just recently had someone come in and take over all of our booking and social media, and that's really helped a lot in general, just helped us stay organized as a band and put dates on the calendar and have a plan to build a fan base. So that's been exciting.
Thank you so much to Van for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. The band currently does not have any shows scheduled for the Peak to Peak area, but they are releasing an EP very soon. It's called Catnip, and it is hopefully coming to streaming services by the beginning of August. In the meantime, not only can you check out Vanimal Kingdom's self-titled debut album wherever you get your music, but you can also check out more about Jon Gauer, who has his own musical career at jongauer.com, and learn more about his band, the Jon Gauer Octet, which has renamed itself to the Cat's Glasses. The band is currently working on their debut album, which will hopefully be released sometime in the near future. Here is Van's own description of the upcoming EP. Entered the intoxicating world of Catnip, where the soul-stirring power of rock music takes on a mesmerizing new form. This album is a vibrant fusion of raw energy and emotional depth, blending gritty guitar riffs with haunting melodies that linger in the heart long after the last note fades. Each track is a journey through the highs and lows of life, infused with an unpredictability that keeps listeners on the edge of their seats. I do not believe that the band has a website as of now, but if you want to learn more about them and check out what they're doing, you can check out Vanimal Records on YouTube, Vanimal Kingdom Band on Instagram, or Vanimal Kingdom on Facebook. This interview was originally conducted on January 20th, 2023, and promoted a Howlin' Wind Brewing show on February 4th, 2023. Unfortunately, based on what I'm seeing from the original article that I wrote, I accidentally typed it as February 4th, 2022, which was definitely the incorrect year. Oh well, I'm correcting it now. If you want to read that original article for Music of the Mountains, be sure to check out the Music of the Mountains column for the January 26, 2023 edition of The Mountain Ear. Before we move on to our next guest, here's an ad break. Here's an ozone tip for you. Walk, bike, or scoot instead of driving. Go wild for front range air quality. Walk, bike, or scoot to reduce ground level ozone. Ozone, created from pollutants like car exhaust, is the Front Range's biggest air quality issue and a leading cause of respiratory problems. Leave the car at home for short trips. Simple steps add up. Know when it matters most. Here's Kelsey Simpkins of the Regional Air Quality Council to tell you more about how you can sign up for ozone alerts and learn more about what you can do to help control ground level ozone.
You can go to our website at simplestepsbetterair.org, or you can text 21000 to Better Air CO. All this information, again, is on our website to sign up for these email or text alerts and help understand the context of when ozone is worse and what you can do about it. And especially if you have a lung issue or you're really looking to protect your health, then you can get these really timely alerts.
If you want to hear more from Kelsey Simpkins about what you can do to help control ground level ozone, then be sure to check out a previous edition of the Mountain Ear Podcast. Music credits will be given at the end of the episode.
Once you get over, you can lie in bed in the relief.
Welcome back. And now, let's get to our second interview. Our next musical guest. Do you mind introducing yourself real quick?
Sure. Hi, I'm Joslyn Hampton from Joslyn and the Sweet Compression.
And back when I initially conducted this interview in 2022, you were going to be performing at the Caribou Room, weren't you?
We are. We will be there on September 30th.
So how did Joslyn and the Sweet Compression start in the first place?
Okay, so the group started with my stepfather and I. He had been playing in cover bands for years. And I, as well, have been playing in cover bands around town. And he was like, why don't we just do original music? He said, I think that will just be the key. And I said, okay, yeah, I'm down. He said, now, I don't know how to do this new age R&B on the radio, the computer age R&B, but I know how to do real musicians and a real beat. And I said, oh, yeah, that's what I'm into. I love that. So let's do it. So we got together and, first we made our album, and then we recruited the band members, and there's 7 of us total. We do funk and R&B, soul, and it kind of started with him, and he was with us up until April of this year, and then suffered an illness, and so he recently had to get a new guitar player. But yeah, it was his idea to make this happen, and we've been thriving ever since. We're trying to thrive.
Are there any individual inspirations that have stuck out to you, Joslyn, or that have stuck out to other members of the band along the way?
Well, I love the Whitney, the Aretha, the Shaka Khan, and all of the old classic soul singing, funk singing divas. Those are my influences. My stepdad, he loved James Brown. He was into Prince. He idolized Prince. He played blues coming up with Junior Wells and one more blues legend that I'm honestly not sure of the name of anymore at this point. But so that was his thing, was funk and blues. He grew up on that, and he did a lot of touring in his younger years, was playing blues. And so those are our influences. And because of our love of music and that funky soul sound, we decided that's what we wanted to do. At the time, you didn't hear it much on the radio anymore, the old school kind of nostalgic funk and soul. So that's what we tried to recreate, a newer, fresh version of the old classic song, the old classic sound, and that's what we're trying to make come to life.
The Joslyn and the Sweet Compression website mentions that Joslyn Hampton's stepfather, whose name was Marty Charters, played with Junior Wells as well as Buddy Guy. I don't know for sure if this is the artist that Joslyn was thinking of, but he is a blues guitarist, so I have a strong suspicion. According to the website, Marty Charters also shared the stage with Van Morrison. But back to you, Joslyn. What inspired you to pursue music as a career in the first place?
Yeah, it was one of the only things I noticed that made me happy. I noticed in my regular 9-to-5 jobs, I was not content. It was not fulfilling. I was not getting any kind of fulfillment at all out of doing that. And I knew it was going to take me nowhere. I felt like I had a gift for music. I've always loved it since I was a child. I've loved music, and I kind of saw that as my career path even as a child. But of course, you get kind of swayed from it from everyday society. Like, no, just get a real job. Of course, they say real job as if music is not a job. But everyone around you is trying to get you to stay on the normal path of work 9-to-5 until you die and just deal with it. But that's just not something I felt fulfilled me. And I felt like I had a bigger purpose in this world, and I want to do something that actually makes me happy. You only live once, and there's no sense in living a life that gives you no kind of passion or fulfillment. So I decided that that is my path, and I'm going to go down it no matter what. Do I expect it to be an easy path? Absolutely not. But I'm going to stay encouraged on my journey and do what I love and try to spread love to others through music.
What have been some of your favorite parts about being able to perform live over the years?
My favorite part is crowd reaction. It's just something about singing something and doing something, putting your all into something and knowing that the people around you can feel what you're doing and then giving it back to you. It's the reciprocity of the gift. People, I don't know, when you're standing on that stage, and even if you only have 1 or 2 people out there, but they're all in and watching you and can feel you and return that energy back to you, it's like a high I've never felt before in my life, mainly because I've never been high. But mainly because it's just, I can't imagine it being any better, the feeling of just euphoria that you get from that person or people in the audience that reciprocate your energy back to you. It's just something else. That is my favorite part, is people receiving your energy and then returning it to you.
Is there anything that you hope audience members will be able to take away from your shows when they come and see you?
I hope they will take away joy. I know that sounds probably cliche or corny, but I want you to feel our energy on stage. I want you to feel how much we love doing what we do. I want you to feel our passion, and I want you to feel our enthusiasm, and I want you to take that home with you. I don't want you to come in there in a bad mood or anything, but if you came in there and your day was not going great, after this show, I want you to leave that place feeling renewed or refreshed or like, okay, I feel better now. Now I can live my day, the rest of my night, and wake up in the next day feeling good and rejuvenated because I've got fresh, new, good energy from somewhere else.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
Yeah, we'll be at the Caribou Room on that Friday, and then we'll be in Cervantes in Denver the next day. So, yeah. And, of course, we're just kind of on a tour. We're opening for Tyler Childers at Red Rocks the day prior. So, it's going to be a nice little run for us. It'll be our first time in Denver, or in Colorado, period. So, please come show us some love if you're out there and you want to have a good time and enjoy some funky soul music. Come out there and come see it. We'll be waiting.
Thank you so much to Joslyn for coming on board and joining us for the podcast, even if we couldn't post this interview for a couple of years after the initial interview. I recorded this interview all the way back on September 16th, 2022 to promote the September 30th, 2022 show that Joslyn and the Sweet Compression performed at the Caribou Room. If you want to read that full article, then be sure to head to the Music of the Mountains column in the September 22nd, 2022 edition of the Mountain Ear. At the time I initially conducted this interview and wrote the article for Joslyn and the Sweet Compression, the lineup consisted of Joslyn Hampton, of course, Robert Fram on the guitar, Steve Holloman on the keyboard, Smith Donaldson on the bass, Rashawn Fleming on the drums, Trevin Little on the saxophone, and Chase Fleming on the trombone and trumpet. However, according to the bio on the band's official website, that lineup has changed significantly. The lineup now consists of Joslyn, of course, Carter Schofield on guitar, Chad O'Brien on trombone, Tyler Papierniak on bass, Rashawn Fleming on drums, Trevin Little on saxophone, and Sam Richardson on keyboard. I just wanted to make sure I shouted out all of the band members because they deserve just as much credit in all of this. I also wanted to mention that during my research trying to figure out minor details that I didn't get in the initial interview, I found out that Martin Arthur Charters unfortunately passed away a month after I conducted this interview with Joslyn on October 26th, 2022 at the age of 54. So, I wanted to dedicate this episode in the memory of Martin Arthur Charters. But while Martin has sadly passed on, Joslyn's music continues to thrive, and the band released their self-titled album in 2019, which you can check out anywhere you stream your music. Since that original album, the self-titled album in 2019, the band has released a second album, Bona Fide, with 10 additional songs, which, again, you can stream wherever you get your music. And finally, if you want to learn more about the band in any capacity, be sure to check them out on Facebook as Joslyn and the Sweet Compression, on Instagram as Joslyn and TSC, or go to their website at joslynandtsc.com. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in and decided to stick around even after that incredibly dark introduction to listen to this week's Wednesday Retrospective edition of the Mountaineer Podcast. If you liked what you heard and you want to share it around with others, then be sure to head to the main podcast hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com or at the mtnear.com/the-mountain-ear-podcast, and you can share it around with whoever you see fit. And if you'd like to be included on the podcast in any way, shape, or form, whether you're a musician or a business person or a local in any capacity, or you have advertising that you want to share, then please email me at media@themountaineer.com and we will get something sorted for you. Also, just a quick side note, I am very glad that we adopted the format of editing re-recorded questions in after the fact, because I was so quiet in both of these initial interviews. I have no idea what happened and why my phone recorded my voice so quietly, but I am also very relieved that Joslyn and Van were clearly audible in both of these interviews. Alright, that's enough blathering from me. I will see you guys on Friday for our weekly Music of the Mountains edition of the Mountaineer Podcast. The song that you heard in the ad break is called The Fixer, and the song that you are currently listening to is called Sticky Situation, and both songs are from the latest album Bonafide from the band Joslyn and the Sweet Compression. You can listen to their debut album, Joslyn and the Sweet Compression, as well as Bonafide wherever you get your music. And be sure to check out the band on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and on joslynandtsc.com.
I can't stand the weather. When we were brand new bride and groom, could not wipe the smile off my face. Blind to the elephant in the room. Then I saw it, had to pack up my suitcase.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.